This Valorant tier list is lying to you. Well, at least as of new patch 4.04, because this is no longer valid. This is the agent tier list for the meta before all of the crazy changes in patch 4.04, and as you know, many of these characters are going to be fundamentally different and moved, and some of these characters at the very top are moved, so they will change others as well. Basically, the meta as you know it is going to change, so I thought it would be interesting to compare directly between what was presumed to be the meta or the tier list of the previous patch to now and talk about what changes are actually going to happen. But many ask the question, is the Phantom or Vandal better? Well, our Blitz partnership will help you figure that out incredibly easy with global statistics of all win rates. In addition, you could break down your own weapon analytics and see what weapons you're dominating on and have a very high accuracy and win rate on, or what weapons are really falling short. You also have heavy statistics breaking down your last 20 matches, showing your agent and map win rates and exactly what you need to do and improve on. In addition, there's full guides that will showcase a specific lineup on any map, whether it's attack or defense. For instance, look at this top-down view of this map. We get to actually go in, pick Sova, and then it will show us every single shock dart and lineup that we could use. And in a fraction of the second, we click the one that we need. It will show us a very quick and seamless video, and we can easily use it in our games live. Basically, Blitz is the all-in-one package that is going to let you become a much better player, focus on what you need to improve, and dominate your games. Do yourself a favor and download the Blitz app down below for absolutely free. Now, before we talk about any of the potential movers on this list, we do need to talk about the elephants in the room, specifically Astra and Viper. Both of these are going to be changed quite dramatically. Now, one of these characters is going to fall a lot harder than the other, and it's really Astra. Astra is going to get hit quite a bit harder than Viper is, for the basic reason that these characters fill different roles in what they do. Remember, Viper has a toxic screen smoke that cannot be replicated by any other controller, while Astra's smokes have a direct alternative in Brimstone and Omen smoke, and now with their buffs become a lot more appealing in addition to her nerfs simultaneously. Viper is still unique in what she does. You want to get on A side on Breeze, you need that toxic screen, and no other character has that. So for that reason, even with the Viper's nerfs, she is still going to see substantial play, and in my opinion, she's still going to be in that S tier. Even if she is quite a bit weaker than she was before, it's not enough to dethrone her because there's no other alternatives. But with Astra seeing substantial alternatives actually seeing play, she is most likely going to be dropping to something like A tier or the top of B tier. And that's where I'll move her for now, because the other characters in question are going to see substantial changes. Now, let's actually look at some of the alternatives to Astra, the ones that got fundamentally changed. Now, remember, Astra's pick rate is going to fall relative to the pick rate increase from Brimstone and Omen. And while Astra is still pretty powerful, she did get nerfed in meaningful ways, specifically the fact she has less of a star, a much larger cooldown on every single ability, and overall, the character is going to suffer at being that sentinel in addition to being that controller. That being said, she can place stars across the entire map now, and that is going to make it much more important to sandbag your stars. So she's powerful in a different way, but the raw power level that she was providing for 4 is no longer going to exist. Now, Omen and Brimstone are both buffed, but they're buffed in different ways, okay? Omen, his paranoia is better. You're not going to blind your allies. His shadow step is better. You can make a little bit more plays with it. You can get out a lot quicker and easier. And his smokes travel much further, and they're on less of a cooldown by a substantial mark. All of these combined make the character much more appealing, and now he is actually going to be somewhat of a fool to Astra because he has power in different ways, and from a power level perspective, he is not being outmatched by freaking Astra anymore. Now, did I want to see, you know, that paranoia where he could actually not paranoia his allies? Yeah. However, this change is still good, and I do think that, especially with that smoke cooldown decrease, he is going to be a right fool to Astra. However, Astra still has more sentinel-based utility than Omen does, so she probably edges it out, especially for defense. But overall, Omen is a much better competition for Astra, and I have no doubts that he will eat up quite a bit of her pick rate, even if she still sees substantial play. Now, The interesting character, though, is Brimstone, because his smokes didn't really get changed all that much, and the big change to Brim is actually the fact that his stim beacon has a speed boost increase for everyone that walks in it of 15%, or all of his teammates. Now, it's actually incredibly difficult to know just how impactful that change is going to be, because it's unlike anything we've ever seen. What is the play patterns that are enabled by giving your entire team 15% speed boost? Is there going to be something that you can rush? Is there going to be a ranked strategy that just rushes people down? Are you going to be able to use it to rotate quicker? Are you going to be able to use it to take space more aggressively and execute before the smokes come down? There's a lot of interesting question marks, and of course, he can still do the fundamental job of a controller. Right now, these characters are not very far off of one another from fulfilling that base level job, and that stim beacon utility is very unique and potentially very powerful. Now, I do think he will also pick up some of that pick rate from Astra, and I actually foresee a situation where Omen and Brimstone both see substantial play, or at least some play, instead of Astra just controlling all the pick rate. Now, at the end of the day, I do foresee her still being the go-to controller besides Viper, but it's not going to be, you know, the top pick rate. It's not going to be 90% on all these maps. She has a lot more competition now, and those nerfs are very substantial. Now, the next thing that we have to talk about is undoubtedly Yoru. Where does Yoru change after all these crazy changes? His changes are really, really strong. And when I first read them, when I first broke them down, I was a bit underwhelmed. Not with how cool they were, because I thought they were fucking cool. I thought the power level was a little bit low and he wasn't going to see substantial pro play. But upon watching him more and more, I actually think that his power level is insanely high. And I could see him as a disruption-based character. At the very least, he's going to C tier and fighting that spot with Neon. But realistically, I could see him in the hands of the right player being that Reyna disruptor that is played even in pro play. And for ranked play, he could be very dominant, just like a Reyna is. I mean, he already has seen quite a bit of ranked play here and there. People like to play him, and his power level is easily doubled. He is so much stronger, and the ability to really get into the mind of your opponent, mess with them in very interesting ways, pretend to be the clone, walk in or throw the clone, the fact that it shoots when you shoot it. I mean, there's just so much outplay potential with the character. I overall think that he's probably going to be pretty powerful, and I could see him being an all-star in ranked and see some small amount of pro play. Now, the next question that actually comes up is what happens to the other characters because of these changes? Because when you have a meta that is purely based around specifically the powerful controllers that are Viper and Astra, what happens now that there's more options? What happens when the choking Astra meta is kind of dissipating? Well, I think first off, unfortunately, KO is probably going to get knocked down a little bit. He really saw a spike because of the powerful utility that was being played, and specifically because abilities are getting nerfed, especially with Astra. KO as a counter or an anti-meta pick is probably going to see a slight downtick. However, overall, I think that KO is still just a very good character, underrated, and more than anything, he's primed to get better with time as more and more agents get introduced to the game and more powerful abilities get introduced to the game. KO definitely shines. Now, we've seen Chamber really rise the ranks in the Sentinel meta and really make a name for himself, being very powerful, but I wouldn't be surprised if with Astra dropping a little bit of her power level from the Sentinel role, we don't see some other Sentinels get increased in power level or see more pick rate. Specifically, I imagine that Killjoy will see quite a bit more play. Now that Astra is taking a downtick, I could imagine a situation where you're playing one of the other controllers like Omen or Brimstone, and you still want the stalling capability of a Cypher or even a Killjoy. So I could imagine either Omen or Brimstone seeing play in a composition, but you still want that stalling capability on defense. So Killjoy will see substantial play there to actually create that stalling Sentinel ability, in addition to something like a Cypher. And I do foresee these characters seeing a rise in pick rate to actually replace the void that is being lost from Astra playing that double duty role. Now, Jett and Sova aren't going anywhere. They're still going to be incredibly powerful, but for my last prediction, I would say that Skye's stock will probably increase. Someone that is going to see quite a bit more play, specifically because the pop flash capability of pushing through smokes, executing onto points is going to be fantastic, especially when it's a lot easier for you to bait out wells and stars from Astra. I do foresee Skye being a character that is going to rise the ranks even more so. She already saw substantial play, but I imagine she would see even more. So while the controller role gets more balanced out with the exception of Viper still remaining very essential on the map she's played in, on the map she's not, she's probably going to see quite a downtick in pick rate fulfilled by some of the other controllers. And of course, the other Sentinels are going to see a increase in pick rate as well. And I do think that Skye will see a lot more play rising to the S tier. Yoru is going to be very powerful in ranked play and might see some amount of pro play as well. But these are my speculations for what is going to happen with the meta. As things develop, we're going to be able to make a better tier list for you, breaking down exactly what happened, exactly what's changed. And we're going to base it, of course, off of high rank or pro pick rate. But definitely let me know what you think is going to happen in the meta. What changes do you foresee? And what big changes do you want to see next? Are you excited for the new potential meta? Are you excited for the big changes to the meta? What characters we'll see play and why? I really want to hear your opinion about all that down below. And go to the GameLeap website for in-depth breakdowns, tips and tricks, guides, advanced strategy, and so much more. Don't miss out right now to become the best version of yourself and pop off. Go check it out right now down below.